All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Shintastic Saturday. Hey, I don't know where you guys are at right now, but I can tell you right now in Southern California, it's a beautiful day. I am not in the mountains of this beautiful, gorgeous scenery. This is actually just a green screen, but I don't know. I thought I'd give you a little different scenery this morning. Anyway, I'm excited, very excited for those of you that are joining us for the very first time. We've been doing this program now for the last 4 months. Due to COVID-19, and as we were sitting at home, we decided to change up and make some adapt, I guess, to the how we conduct business, I guess, right? So we have been doing these programs for the last almost 30 years, since 1991, but we've been doing them in our office. And typically on a Saturday morning, we get dressed up, we're in business attire, we come to our office, and we basically train, and we train on many different things like entrepreneurship and leadership development and mindset training and so forth. And so that's what we've been doing. And so, as I said, we're now using virtual training, and it has been amazing. The feedback we've been getting, the number of people that have been tuning in on a weekly basis. We've been doing this every Tuesday nights at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We also did stuff on Thursdays, let's see, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then today, Saturday, we do them at 11 o'clock. And so it's been amazing. We've been bringing on a lot of different speakers, thought leaders and experts in different areas of business. We've been giving financial education. We've picked the brains of different celebrities and musicians and artists and so forth. So we've been doing this because we just want to provide value to our audience. And so we're absolutely thrilled to have you join us today. We're going to probably go for about an hour or so, or hour and I guess 5 or 6 minutes now. So without any further ado, let me just tell you that this coming Tuesday, we have a very, very special guest, a lady by the name of Sonia Stribling. And this lady has been just tearing it up all over the world. And I was touring with her actually last year, and we'll tell you a little bit about our tour. What I mean by the tour, it's not like we were a band on a tour, but we were a group of mentors and coaches, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But anyway, you can't miss this lady. Dr. Sonia Stribling will be joining us at 6:30. And I have to say this, I don't say what I'm about to tell you very often. You know, I've met a lot of wonderful speakers, and some people, they're not the greatest deliverer, is that such a word, deliverer or messenger, right? Or the presentation, they're not maybe the best, but their content is good, right? And some people, they're great in their delivery, but their content is not as, you know, something that you've already heard. It's nothing new, and I you know, I've kind of heard it all, you know, in 30 years. Now this lady here, Sonia Stribling, she is amazing. I mean, her presentation, her delivery, her content, her energy. I would have to tell you, in the thousands of people that I've met that speak on stage, I would probably put this lady in my top 5 speakers I've ever met my entire life. And I'm not just saying that to say, hey, you got to come, but I'm telling you, she is probably one of the top 5. And those of you that have heard her speak before, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? I would obviously put, you know, the Tony Robbins up there, right? A good friend of mine named Ed Milet, I would put up in the top 5. Rich Thawley, another amazing speaker, up there in the top 5. You know, John Maxwell. And I would tell you, for a woman, right, I think she's probably the best female speaker I've ever seen on stage. And so, again, make sure you register. We do have limited seating because we are using a Zoom platform. We are providing this for free. We don't charge any money. And because of that, we have limited. Now, I guess we can spend, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars to add more, but we don't really need to, right? I mean, we can go up to 1,000 people on this webinar, and anything that we have more than 1,000, we end up going on a YouTube channel and going live on YouTube. So that has worked for us for the last 4 months, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this will be a sold out, like, you know, I mean, it's not sold out because we're not selling it, but it would be a fully occupied webinar, and you may not be able to get in, okay? So I want to encourage you to register here today. and make sure you get in early. I would tell you to get in probably by 6 to 6:15, because I think if you come in late, you know, at 6:30, you probably may not be able to get in. You'll have to go to a YouTube channel to watch it, okay? Now, when you go to YouTube, the other thing is you can't ask questions, you can't make comments and things like that. And we are gonna do a Q&A with Sonia at the end so she can answer some of these questions for you. So make sure you tune in, okay? Now, tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a session, an orientation that based on what you hear today, if you like what you hear, tomorrow we've got an orientation. Is that tomorrow? Oh, my bad. Yeah, excuse me. So not, I think it's Tuesday tonight, actually. You guys, let me just tell you, I've been sitting in this seat literally every day, every single day. We've been broadcasting through this Zoom webinar around the world. I mean, we found out there's people coming, dialing in or tuning in, I guess, from Australia, from Canada, from Germany, from Asia. And so we've been, I mean, we're so grateful. In fact, I just picked up a speaking gig in the Philippines because they actually saw this and said, oh my God, we'd like to have you speak at our year-end virtual conference. So I'm going to be speaking to some people in the Philippines here next month or the next couple of weeks or so. But I've been sitting in this chair like every single day for the last 120 days. And so I don't even know what day it is. I actually thought today was Tuesday, but it's really Saturday, right? And then yesterday, oh my God, I think I spoke yesterday non-stop, not non-stop, but I mean throughout the day, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. I think I literally spoke in front of this camera on a Zoom channel for, I think, let's see, like literally 10 hours. So anyways, I thought today was Tuesday, but we got up yesterday. We went till like midnight. And then we got up this morning and we're fired up. So anyway, so yeah, next Tuesday is Sonia. And then Wednesday, I've got an orientation. So if you like what you hear today, please tune in for about an hour. I'm going to tell you exactly how you can make a lot of money and secure your financial future, okay? So that's what's going on next Wednesday. And then next week, there will be no product training. I do a session every Thursdays at 2 o'clock, but you know, in honor of the 4th of July, you know, and people will be out of town and so forth, we want to give you a super long weekend to enjoy with your family, do whatever you got to do, barbecue, safe distance, right? Wear your mask, but there will be no Shintastic Saturday next Saturday as well. So Thursday and Saturday, we're going to skip those 2 days. That'll also probably give me a little bit of a break to recover, because I think it'll be my first literally day off will be next Thursday that I've had one. Like I literally, like I said, I've been working 7 days a week, you know? And so next Thursday will be like my first day off in 120 some odd days. I mean, so we're exhausted to some level physically, but I mean, mentally we're fired up. Okay. So there you have it. Now, I want, for those of you that are joining us for the very first time, a little bit about me and my wife, Arlene. And by the way, I convinced her last night. We were just we're retiring to bed, and you know, I said to her, I said, honey, you know, I think that you should actually get on one of my webinars here in the next couple of weeks. And she's like, me? And it's funny because she is super articulate, like literally. Like, she's got the brains, I've got the looks. I said to her, let's make lots of money. Oh, that's great. And so she said, what am I going to do on a webinar? And I said, you know what, honey? I said, you know, people want to know, you know, who you are. I mean, you're the one who really started this whole thing in 1991. And I think one of the things that we should talk about is couple power, you know. And now when I say couple power, you don't necessarily have to be husband and wife married, right? But I mean, if you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, right? Domestic partners, mother, son, mother, daughter, father, son, father, daughter. If there's a couple, like two people who are working together, it's some project, some event, some, you know, business, you know, how do you work together? And so what Arlene and I want to do is talk to you guys about how we worked together over the last 26 and a half years to get to where we are today. And so, you know, I think it'll be a great opportunity for you guys to get your spouse, significant others, your children to join that webinar where my wife will be on there as well. And the two of us will actually be talking to you guys about how to grow your business, right? And then on top of that, we're also going to bring in some other very successful couples and what they did, right? So it's not just what we did, but how did other successful couples do it together, okay? You know, and really building a very successful business enterprise. So I think it's going to be awesome, and I just want you to know that, you know, those of you that are on, you know, starting a business, or looking to start a business, okay? You have a lot of different resources today. You've got podcasts, there's YouTube, there's books, there's a lot of content out there. But for my wife and I, we didn't have those things. We didn't have Google in 1991 through 95. We didn't have podcast shows. There was no YouTube. Okay, we basically had a book. And so we read this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is an absolute timeless classic. And Napoleon Hill was a reporter. And as a reporter, he basically went to a man named Andrew Carnegie. And he said to Mr. Carnegie, he said, Mr. Carnegie, he says, what is the secret to becoming successful? And Andrew Carnegie basically said, you know, that's a great question. In fact, I would love to have you go and interview my friends and ask them the same question. And let's find out if there's a secret to becoming successful. And so Andrew Carnegie commissioned young Napoleon Hill at the age of 25, and he went on and spent 25 years of his life, okay, interviewing some of the greatest financial and business giants of all time. And he interviewed people like, you know, Thomas Edison, okay? And if you don't know who Thomas Edison is, I would highly recommend that you Google that man's name today. Do a little study and research on who this man is. Obviously, he did interview Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Theodore Roosevelt, the Wright brothers. And no, the Wright brothers is not a band from the 60s. This is a different two brothers, the Wright brothers, okay? And I'm not going to even tell you who they were, but the picture kind of gives it away. John D. Rockefeller, right? And so many more. And there's over 500 people that Napoleon Hill interviewed that are in this book. Okay, so Arlene, my wife, and I read this book, applied the principles, and what Napoleon Hill discovered were the 13 principles of these successful giants. Okay, now fast forward to about 5 years ago, and I, along with a few other people, had the opportunity to get the rights from the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and we actually made a movie out of this. This is a full-length motion picture. Yes, it was in the theaters. We did a limited theatrical release with AMC. And then from there, we went to a digital platform, you know, where people can watch it on Facebook. And then from there, we went to Netflix, Amazon Prime. And now over the last 4 months, just so that we can help people cope with some of the adversities they're facing today with COVID-19, some of the other things that are happening in our society with racism and things like that, we decided to show this movie Friday nights as a movie night, okay? And so, you know, if you sit there and think about this, as I said earlier, Napoleon Hill wrote this book in 1937 during the Great Depression. So if he can figure out, you know, how these business owners were successful during the Great Depression and how they had coped with their adversities, what better time than now to share this movie? And I just think the timing couldn't have been any better for us to, you know, share this movie with everyone. It's absolutely free, Friday nights, and we show this movie. We are going to be doing some additional screenings here on Zoom about the movie here in the next few weeks, so you may want to stay tuned for that, and bring a bunch of family and friends and guests to watch that. And now some people said, oh, can we just get the DVD? And it is available at johncShin.com. Highly recommend that. And then from there, I wrote a book. And here's what happened. The original one has now been released with the unedited version of Napoleon Hill's works. And then from there, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And then Lionel Sosa did a Think and Grow Rich Latino choice. And then for Sharon Lecter did the women's choice, and now we've got How Rich Asians Think, where I wrote the Asian version of this. And in this book, you know, we've got a lot of wonderful people that I interviewed. They were not all Asians. There are a lot of wonderful people here, as you can see. And now we negotiated, I went and spoke with the foundation along with my publishers to see if we can release this book not for $27.95 or for $24.95 or any of these other prices, but just a low price of $2.99. It's an ebook version that you can go to Amazon right now and get your copy for just $2.99. Now, this price for $2.99, just so you guys know, is only going to be available for another few days. This was a special promo that we did for the month of June, and so you'll see the prices go back up here at the end of the month. So again, highly, highly recommend everyone get this and let others know that they can get their own copy of this. Wonderful nuggets, step by step, on how to build their business, okay? Now, once you read it, I do need your help, folks. When you read it, what I'd like you to do is go and make a positive comment, okay? If you don't want to say anything nice, don't say it at all, okay? But if we appreciate some of the positive comments, if you can put that on there for us. And then, of course, now that we had the book and we had the movie, we decided to go on a tour. And that's when we released the Think and Grow Rich Legacy World Tour. And then our goal was to hit 12 countries, 34 states here in the United States. And we traveled to 3 countries last year. And then, of course, due to COVID, we had to quarantine ourselves, and all this came to a screeching stop. So we're now hunkered down in our home, broadcasting all around the world through this program. And we're going to have some virtual Thinking Grow Rich Legacy events. And stay tuned for that as well. But I'll tell you what, as we went on this tour, I learned a lot. You know, my goal was to go and educate other people about, you know, entrepreneurship. And it's interesting how much I learned from it, right? And one of the best things I ever heard from someone, they said that, you know, when you think you know it all, that what you learn after you think you know it all makes all the difference. And so I thought, you know, I knew it all. I thought I was, you know, pretty successful at what I do. And I think I still think I'm pretty successful, but I learned so much, right? I shared the stage with people like CONDOLEEZA Rice, okay? And then, of course, Barbara Corcoran, who is now also in my movie called Think and Grow Rich. I hate to say the word my, but our movie, my team of wonderful producers and directors and so forth. So that's Barbara Corcoran. And then you've got Martin Sheen, who we both serve on the Manny Pacquiao Foundation. We've got Rob DYRDEK. I'm sure many of you guys know who he is, who is also in the movie Think and Grow Rich. And then, of course, we have STEDMAN Graham. And for those of you that don't know STEDMAN, STEDMAN is an amazing individual. STEDMAN, if you don't know who he is Oprah Winfrey's significant other, spiritual partner, business partner. And so STEDMAN came down to visit with me at my house. And so we had a wonderful strategy session on the things that we want to do in the future and explore our programs and different kind of training that we're going to be doing in other countries. And so those of you that don't know him, he's 6'9". I think he's 6'9" still. And so a lot of people say, wait a second, if he's 6'9" and you're standing taller than he is, how tall are you, John? I'm actually 5'8", okay? So now it's even more confusing, okay? And I just want you to know, if you look at this picture, it explains to you why or how I'm actually a little bit taller in that picture. So, but anyway, hilarious. STEDMAN had a kick out of that. He was laughing nonstop because then he says, in all my years, he says, no one's ever done that before. So anyway, I still get a chuckle every time I see that. Steve Aoki, also in my book. Mario Lopez and I was on his podcast show several times. We're now co-authoring a book together. We've been hosting some events together as well. And then, of course, last year, both my wife and I, we had the most incredible opportunity to be knighted, and it was knighted by the Royal Order of Constantine the Great and Saint Helen. And Prince Raphael came down and knighted us, and this is Duke Mike. And in the back, you'll see other people who, this is my wife right here, by the way. So many people are friends and family who attended this. In the back over here in the corner, you can see this is Duke Gerhard over here, who is an amazing individual who currently now resides in Hawaii with his beautiful wife. And so we have been very, very, very fortunate over our life, and we've been blessed in so many different ways. And one of the questions that we get from people is, how did this all happen to us, right? So first of all, a lot of this happened because I think that, you know, the Heavenly Father above has answered our prayers in so many different ways. And I want you to know that when you pray for something and you ask for things, right, do you ever wonder that maybe God maybe sending you what you're asking for in a different package. I mean, just think about that. You might be asking for, I don't know, $1 million, right? Do you really think that you might end up with a briefcase with, you know, Ben Franklin's of $1 million delivered FedEx to your house from heaven, right? I don't know. Maybe it could happen, but I doubt it, okay? What I believe that God sends you things that you ask for, okay, in a different package. And I believe that right now, the fact that those of you that are joining us here for the very first time, that maybe you being here is here for a reason. Right? I mean, that this could be what you've been asking for in a different package. You know, only time will tell. And I believe that timing is everything, okay? In fact, starting a business, I want you to know that my wife recognized this generation of people called the baby boomers. Now, the baby boomers, she went back in history and began to analyze and examine all the companies that were doing well in the 40s and then the 50s and 60s and on and on and on. Well, do you think it was coincidence that all of a sudden the baby industry, companies like Gerber Food and Johnson & Johnson started to do well? Okay, and then the babies got a little bit older. Do you think it was coincidence that it was the toy industry? Or do you think it was just the fact that there are 80 million babies that were born within an 18-year span, and then those babies, as they were growing, had a need for all these different things, right? There was a demand for this. And then all of a sudden, the next industry was fast food. And this is the beginning of the fast food revolution. Then the car industry came, and then the technology industry came, and then real estate. And now here we are, folks. We're in the year 2020, and the first baby boomer just hit the age of 74. Now, I want you to know that most 70-year-olds, based on our research and studies, one of the biggest concerns that they have today, number one, is can they retire? It's unfortunate that many 74-year-olds are unable to retire because they didn't plan for their future. You know, there's a great quote. They said that most people don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan, right? And you've heard that before. And I think that planning has a lot to do with where you want to go. And these unfortunate baby boomers who did not plan for their retirement are now having to work during their golden years at the golden arches, right? They're not able to retire in dignity, and they're now having to still continue to work. And I've actually met some, you know, elderly people in their 80s who are saying, I'm still having to work because unfortunately I didn't plan, John, and I'm so embarrassed. I didn't think that this day would come, and here I am now. I'm 83, 84 years old, and I'm still having to work somewhere just to make a living and make some money because they don't think that Social Security checks are sufficient to take care of them. So let me just tell you something. This is a serious, serious issue. And then number two is healthcare. Okay, healthcare, long-term care, disability, these are some serious things. And so all of a sudden, I realized, and my wife realized, that, you know, financial literacy is a huge epidemic in this country today, right? There are many other countries that teach their children in high school and junior high or junior high and high school about money and how money works. And then suddenly now here we are in the year 2012, 37 states required sex education, right? But only 4 states required or mandated financial literacy education in high school. Now let's move forward to 2015 where we added 1 state, and that was Alabama. And then from there, we have in 2020, 2 more states, that's Iowa and North Carolina. So together in our union, you know, in the United States, only 7 states right now require financial literacy classes. So this is a problem. Now, the good news is we made some progress, but it's just slow. And so I don't expect politicians and governors and mayors and the president to solve this problem, but it's people like us from the private sector that need to go out there and start teaching people about money and how it works, right? So we have built our business based on the 6 pillars of financial security, and we believe those 6 pillars of financial security, number 1 is to increase cash flow. I think prior to the pandemic, you know, you've heard a lot of people say you need to have another stream of income, have multiple streams of income. I mean, just think about this, right? I mean, people like J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, you know, you might think Jennifer Lopez is just a singer or maybe a dancer, but believe it or not, I got to tell you something, J-Lo is a serial entrepreneur. Jennifer Lopez is a businesswoman, okay? I mean, this lady's got her hands in football teams, okay, restaurants, clubs, clothing lines, hair products, makeup, I mean, you name it, perfume. And it's not just J-Lo, right? Mark Wahlberg, I mean, you guys all know who another serial entrepreneur. Will Smith, right? You might think, oh, Will's just a rapper and an actor. Well, no, little do you know that, man, that guy is a serial businessman. I mean, he's got his own water company. He sells bottled water, okay? He's got his own clothing line. He's got socks. He sells socks, right? There's a lot of things that Will Smith is doing, and you guys are going to be hearing some stuff in the near future, some stuff that Will Smith and I are going to be releasing here, right? So a lot of great things happening, right? And so all these celebrities, as you think that they're just celebrities, they're not just celebrities. They're business people. They know how money works. And unfortunately, most of you've heard that you have to have another stream of income, and you just haven't started, and you relied solely on your one stream of income, right? Which is your JOB. And that was your one stream. In fact, some people didn't even have a stream of income, right? Some people, it was like a periodic squirt, right? I mean, it was kind of like the income came and like, it came and then it disappeared, right? And then it kind of like dried up, and then it came and then it dried up. And you had to learn how to manage that money because you didn't know what your income would be next month. I have a friend, she's a real estate agent, and she said, you know, she would have deals in the pipeline, and she would close one big deal, but she couldn't spend that money because she had to go maybe 2 or 3 months just in case some deals fell out of escrow and didn't, you know, get it to the end where they closed the deal. So you had to learn how to be frugal and really know how to manage your money. So all of a sudden they started to look for another avenue, another stream of income. And I think now more than ever, it is an absolute necessity. It's no longer a luxury to have another stream of income. I think it's an absolute necessity to have another stream of income, right? You need to have multiple streams. And so I would tell you to go and start a side hustle now, right? Is to have that stream of income. Number 2 is to manage your debt. Let me just tell you something. A lot of people have been asking, John, do you think I should go buy a house? I did an episode a few weeks ago that's now on YouTube in the 16 reasons why I would probably put money in a mutual fund versus buying real estate. In fact, I would tell you not to buy any real estate, even though interest rates are low, until you're debt free, like you don't have any more credit cards, right? That not only do you have no credit cards, but you've got some money saved up for emergencies, okay? Because we know emergencies happen. So until you've secured these 2 pillars, I wouldn't start exploring real estate, okay, and create more debt for yourself because, man, and then you have a tenant that doesn't pay you and you don't have cash reserves, man, you're in a whole lot of trouble, okay? So then you go into a foreclosure proceeding, and then that goes on your permanent record on your credit report for about 10 years. So, again, it's just proper planning on what to do. Don't get caught up. You hear all these people talk about, oh, well, I bought a piece of property and I fixed it up and I flipped it, you know, and I made, you know, 100 grand. And then all of a sudden they're like, wow, that resonates with you. So now you want to go do something like that. Little do you know that person that told you that, the other one property, that's what they did. They don't tell you about the other 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 that flopped and they lost their money and their rear end. And this 100,000 barely made enough money to replenish the loss of all those other properties, okay? So I just really want to empower you to do your homework and research and tune into my webinars on Thursdays and get financially educated, right? Before you just start going out there and blindly buying $400, $500, $600 million type properties, okay? Proper protection, make sure that you're properly protected, okay? Number 5 is to create a long-term savings account, retirement, college planning, a wedding, okay? A big birthday, a sweet 16, a quinceañera, right? A lot of the Latino Hispanic communities, they have these big like fiestas and sweet quinceañeras, right? Bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, you know, the Jewish community, they have this celebration like it's a wedding, okay? And it's big money. You don't just go, oh, let me just go ahead and have a $50,000, $100,000 bar mitzvah. So you got to plan that and start saving up for that, okay? Otherwise, you create massive amounts of debt. And number 6 is to preserve your assets and pass it on to your generation, okay? Your legacy, right? Create some sort of succession plan and making sure that you have assets protection. You have to protect your assets. In this day and age, everybody is looking for a shortcut. They want to figure out ways how they can mooch off the people who work their blood, sweat, equity. And it's so sad. They're looking for the shortcut, right? So you need to protect your assets, okay? And so let me just tell you something, folks. When you're sick, you end up going to a hospital, right? You go to a hospital, you typically see a doctor, and then you have your own primary care physician or doctor, okay? Now, that primary care could typically, handle things like a flu or a cold or some, area where it's, internal medicine or whatever. But listen, sometimes they refer you out when you need a specialist. You start going to a radiologist or an immunologist or an oncologist or a neurologist or a cardiologist and all these ologists, okay? Well, look at this model here, because Kaiser, which is a very successful medical hospital facility, they're all over Southern California, and let me just tell you, they're so efficient, they're so profitable because they're all under one roof. All these specialists are under one roof. It is a one-stop shop in the medical field, okay? Now, when I recognized this in 1996, when our first child was born, okay, Matthew, and it's pretty scary, that these children grow up so fast. We adopted and created our own hospital, right? A financial hospital. And what we ended up doing is we started a company where we started doing loans, right? And we have offered different kinds of loans, all sorts of kinds of loans, right? We offered credit card processing and property and casualty, and we started doing insurance and annuities and college planning and retirement, and then we did investment advisory and business planning, and then debt and settlement and credit card settlement and estate planning and asset protection. We started doing all these all under one roof, okay? Now, I have to tell you, when we first started, we didn't know this was going to happen, okay? In fact, when we started to get the idea that this is what we were going to create, a lot of our family and friends and people we knew said, oh, this isn't going to work. Well, it's interesting, because now 30 years later, we can tell you it works, okay? In fact, we now operate in all 50 states. We have over 200 offices throughout the United States now. I have just over 11,800 agents now working for us, right, all around the United States. And you might think that's a lot, but that's not. I mean, think about it. It's 330 million people in the United States, okay? Now, let's talk about an opportunity here, okay? According to the state of California's Department of Real Estate, there are over 1.5 million real estate agents in the state of California, 1.5 million. In fact, I should probably create a slide showing you this opportunity, right? So 1.5 million real estate agents just in the state of California, okay? Just think about that, state of California. There are over 1 million lawyers now, right, that have gone and take the California State Bar, passed and got a barcode, and a member of the, was or retired a member of the California State Bar, okay? Over 1 million. Now, in our industry, there are just over 58,000, okay, 58,000 now across the United States that have the licenses to do all this, 58,000. Now, you take that, okay, and now, guess what? Divide that into 330 million people. Now you can look at the opportunity. Folks, let me just tell you, this is an open market, huge opportunity. And I want you to know, a lot of you are like, yeah, this, finance isn't my thing. Hey, finance wasn't my thing either, right? I'm not a numbers guy, believe it or not, right? In fact, I hate numbers, okay? Kind of funny. I'm in the financial industry and I don't like numbers. I didn't do well in math in high school either. But let me just tell you, for me, this business, I was able to make money, and it became the means to my dreams, right? The means to my goal, the means to my end, okay? And then, of course, I took that money and reinvested it so that I can have other streams of income. And I'll tell you what, I've invested in a lot of different businesses and industries, and I've done pretty well for myself. I should really just do a slide where this just pops up, Anna, so I don't have to click the button. But I've invested in a lot of different industries and businesses, okay? So at the end of the day, I got to tell you that financial services has been the most rewarding financially. And now I believe that financial services is not just a luxury anymore, that it is an absolute necessity, right? It is a need. And in fact, you know, if you don't have health insurance, even the government is requiring that to become law, that you got to have health insurance, right? Auto insurance, right, is a law. Each state requires that you have to have auto insurance. That's the law. And I believe that they're going to start making it law for small businesses. I think next month, in the month of June, or no, excuse me, July, the state of California now requires that all businesses, right, must offer a retirement account for all their employees. It's an absolute must. It's not like you can say, no, I don't want to do that. It's now becoming state law to do business in the state of California. You must offer a retirement account for all businesses in the state. So there's some new legislation. You can Google that and read up on that a little bit more. But just so you guys know, that creates opportunities for us. So I think that if you want to make some money, this is a great opportunity, okay? So this is one of my favorite slides that says that if you don't come out of this quarantine, folks, with a new skill, some new knowledge, or a new side hustle or business, then folks, it's not that you lacked time, but you lacked discipline, okay? And I don't mean that to insult you, okay? That's not my intention. But folks, I'm trying to help you. All right. Now, if you say, well, I don't need help, well, then that's your choice. Okay. I want to help the people who want my help. Okay. And if you're one of those people, then that's what I'm here for you, is to help you, right, develop some new skills, to gain some new knowledge, right, and to create a new side hustle so that I can help you make more passive income and more residual income. And there is a difference. A lot of people use those as they're synonymous. They're not synonymous. They're quite different, right? Passive income, okay, is income, okay, that you make without doing any work, often from an investment, such as what? Annuities, stocks, mutual funds, rental properties, right? High yield savings accounts. So that's passive income. I want to teach you how to invest your money wisely, but you got to understand, you know, the financial industry and the ins and outs. You got to understand the difference between, you know, an ETF, right, and a UIT. You're like, what? I've never even heard of that. Is that like a stock? No. Is it like a mutual fund? No. A mutual fund and a stock are pretty different too, right? What is the difference there? What is the difference between whole life insurance and universal life insurance? What is the difference between having your money passively managed versus actively managed, okay? That's another big difference, right? Should you buy a car or should you lease? Is that better? Should you actually buy rental properties, right? Or should you actually invest that money into mutual funds and stocks? So those are all questions and things that I want to teach you, right? But you got to come and learn, okay? The more you learn, and the word learn is the word earn. You see, the more you learn, the more you earn, okay? And so now then you got to learn how to get residual income, and that's residuals, income that you make after a sale, and then you still keep on what? Getting paid. Becoming an author, which I think every single one of you should learn how to become an author. I'm going to be bringing on some experts here soon and teaching you guys how to start your own book. I believe that you all need to have some credibility, right? And build your own credibility and create a book, right? Write a book, and we'll help you with that. I think you should make a movie, right? I think you should, someday, right? Not now. You got to have money first before you start doing that. You know, but there's songwriters and singers and all these people. Maybe you're like, well, I don't see myself. I'm not that creative. I can't write music or sing. Great. Well, then guess what? How about financial services, right? Anybody could come into the financial service industry and make $1 million. Now, some of you are like, $1 million, that's too much. Okay, don't worry. How about 500 grand? Oh, that's too much. Okay, how about 100? Let's start there. Could you give me permission to help you go make $100,000 a year? Let's start with that. And then we'll get you to $250,000 and $500,000, right? And so I want you to know that I have created systems, right? Systems. And the word system is an acronym, right? I should probably put a period in between the word system, right? After each letter and after each period, because the word system is an acronym, right? And what it is, what that stands for is save yourself some time, energy, and money, right? Save yourself some time, energy, and money. Now, when you have systems, it'll save you time, energy, and money, right? When you hear people, well, I don't want to start a business because I believe in having more quality time with my family. Well, what if you could have more quality time with your family And you could actually what? Have a thriving business that creates passive and residual income. Okay, most people, they work in their business, right? They don't work on their business, they work in their business, and that's why they have no life, right? You know, I know people who owns restaurants, right? They go, yeah, I go, what do you do? And they go, I own a restaurant. I'm like, you own a restaurant, or does a restaurant own you? Okay, because they work like dogs, right? I mean, 50 hours, 80 hours, 90 hours a week, 7 days a week. And so this is why they don't want to start a business. A lot of people don't want to run a restaurant because they don't own it. The restaurant owns them. You have no life. You have no time with your family. But if you have systems, then that will give you more what? Quality of life. And then your business becomes, you know, a little more fun, becomes more efficient, it becomes more profitable when you have systems. So let me just tell you something. One of the things that we've created over the last 30 years is we created business systems, right? All sorts of different kind of business format systems. We've created financial format systems, right? Licensing format systems, right? Personal development systems, and we've created leadership format systems. So we've got all this stuff dialed in, and we've kept it a secret for about 30 years, and now we're kind of like, well, why are we keeping this a secret? We need to start helping other people live the kind of life that we live today, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, right? This isn't work for me, right? This is basically me reaching down to you. I got to the top. I'm throwing a ladder down, a lifeline, and saying, let me help you. I want to pull you up, right? I want to pull you up and get you to the top with me, right? So that we can do other things and help, you know, make our country, our world a better place together, right? So listen, if you're one of those people, right, that is hungry right now, like you're just tired of being what? Sick and tired, okay? Then let me just give me a chance to help you learn how to make more money. Give me an opportunity to help you, give you the details and how money works. Okay, and I want you to reach out to me directly, right? I don't want you to, I hope that I'm not one where, someone once said to me, they said, John, you know, it's like, before I really knew you, I was actually intimidated. That's what they said to me. They go, you intimidated me. And I said, why? And I said, I hope I don't intimidate, because that's not a good sign, right? Because you don't want to be, you want to be approachable, right? You got to be more approachable. And I said, but now that I've gotten to know you, John, you're so down to earth. You're not snobby, you know, like you seem confident, but you're not super arrogant like some people are, you know? And that was like such nice words that they shared with me, right? But I don't want to be intimidating, okay? That's not my goal. I don't want to be a person. I want to be very approachable, right? So I want you to contact me, right? Reach out to me. Get with the person who invited you here today on this webinar and say, hey, I'd like to get with John. Can we set up a Zoom webinar, right? And if we weren't all confined and concerned about our family's well-being, hey, I'd love to hang out with you and go get a burger or something, right? You know, grab a pizza or something and hang out and get to know you. But with what's going on in the world, this is, you know, we'll have to do a virtual lunch or something. I would be honored to do something like that with you guys, okay? I don't think that you should go out there and start paying all these people big money, okay, for you to learn, okay, so you can earn. I think what you need to do is, you know, find somebody who really doesn't need the money like me, okay, because I've got plenty of it, and allow me to help you get to where you want to go, all right? Now, what I want to do, as I said to you, we talk about all these different kinds of things, right? Business, format, financial, licensing, personal development, leadership. Well, today what I want to do is talk to you about trust versus likability. Okay, trust versus likability. Let me ask you guys a quick question here, okay? Let me ask you this. Do you think that being trusted is more important than being liked? Or do you think that being liked is more important than trust? Let me ask you guys a question. And do me a favor, on the bottom of your screen, I want to do a quick kind of survey, all right? On the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little thing, and it says like, hi, it goes like that. It's like this, right? So let me ask you this. How many of you guys believe, right? Raise your hand. Okay, get ready. You got your mouse. You got your, ready? Do me a favor, okay? How many of you guys believe that trust is more important, okay, than likability? How many of you guys believe that trust is more important than likability? Hands up, you guys, hands up. I see it, it's growing. We've got, can they see the number of hands going up right now? They can't? Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys, keep on going. How many of you guys believe that trust is more important than likability? Hands up high, hands up. Okay, they're going up. Wow, it's about half of you. All right, it's about half. All right, let's do this. How many of you guys think that likability is more important than trust? Hands up, hands up. Let's see. And it's climbing, it's climbing. Okay, and okay, all right, all right. Okay, now how many of you guys, okay, let me ask you this question. How many of you guys will not raise your hand no matter what I ask? Click that button for me. Hands up, hands up. Look at you guys. Hey, I got you to put your hands up this morning, right? Put your hands up. No, I'm kidding, right? Look, I got you guys to get your hands up. All right, so look, let me just tell you, it's about 50-50. So let me tell you which one is more important, okay? And I'm gonna ask you guys this question. Which is more important? So let me ask you a question. When ladies, when a man walks up to you and says, I'd like to get your phone number, right? Because he wants to ask you out for a date, all right? Now, if a man walks up to you, ladies, I don't know, restaurant, club, at a party, you know, a friend's birthday or something, and he sees you, walks in and goes, hey, starts to have a conversation, begins to develop rapport and says, hey, I'd like to get your phone number. Well, you know exactly why he's asking you for your phone number, most likely, right? Because he wants to ask you out. Question, do you give your phone number to that guy because you go, oh my God, I trust him with my life? Oh, I trust him, right? Really? You really trust somebody like within, 5 minutes of a conversation, right? I mean, is it trust? Or let me ask you this question, or was it likability? Right? Was something about him that was likable, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna tell you that it was the likability. So let me just tell you this. So the question, it's a trick question, right? Is this, the difference between trust and likability is that one takes time and another makes time. Okay, so let me just tell you this, okay? Trust takes time. Trust takes time, right? You can't trust somebody, right? I hope you don't trust anyone from the moment you meet them and you're like, oh, I trust them with their life. Hey, here's my checking account numbers. Here's my social date of birth, right? Here's my, right? No, you know, now, so trust takes time, but let me just say this, likability makes time, right? So likability makes time, trust takes time. Okay, so let me just tell you, you gave your phone number out to that guy, ladies, because there was something about him that it was likable, and that gave you guys the opportunity to develop trust over time. Okay, and that's why trust is so important, right? Because once you break that trust, it's over. It's like almost like point of no return in many cases, right? Now on a higher level, right, from a spiritual standpoint, right, I mean, you always forgive and give people second chances, right, but we're not going to talk about that here right now. I want to talk to you about trust versus likability. So it's the same thing when it comes to business, right? Think about this. Think about the most impressive person you ever bought a product from, right? Or hired to do a service for you, right? Like get a contractor come to your house or your home, right? Or you went to some store, Best Buy, and you're trying to buy, some electronic or a computer or a TV or something. Did you buy from that person really because you trusted them? Or was it about the person, something about that person that made you want to know more? I mean, what was it, right? So at the end of the day, was it the knowledge that about the product? Was it his smile? Was it his attitude? Was it how that person made you feel? Or was it because you knew instantly, almost magically, that you could trust that person? Like you had that instinct where you're like, I know. Are you with me on that? Have you ever, I remember when I was in elementary school, there was a guy named David, okay? In fact, his name was, I want to say his last name because he might be listening right now. But yeah, David. I didn't like David, okay? This is elementary school, and I still remember it. I mean, can you imagine, after all these years, I still remember David. David was a bully, right? Like, I felt like I didn't like him. And so I didn't want to get around him. I didn't want to sit next to him during lunch anywhere. I just didn't want to be, I didn't like him, right? And then you know what ended up happening is I went to a birthday party and I met David. Like, unfortunately, they were making us do these little games, and I was like terrified, right? And I was like, okay. And then I met David, and then all of a sudden, guess what? David became my friend. And then we became best friends. And it's crazy, like the one guy I didn't like ended up becoming one of my best friends, right? And so what I wanted, what's interesting about this is I didn't trust him, I didn't like him. And so the question is, how do you become more likable, right? I mean, I think that if you're approaching somebody all the time, whether you're approaching somebody on Zoom, like a webinar like this, right? Or when we start opening the opportunity to go out there and meet people again, when you go to a party and you meet somebody, how do you become more likable so that someone may want to give you a phone number or give you a business card, so they may want to engage in some sort of a business opportunity with you, okay? So you want to be more likable, right? So what I ended up doing is I put together a program that I want to share with you in order for you to build trust, is that we got to work on your liability, which is, if you don't have likability, it is a liability. But I want you to become more likable, likability, okay? So let me just tell you something. There are 14 ways, okay? And there's actually a couple more, right? 14 ways. And this is just me going out there with experience, meeting people, just my own, how I talked to certain people and how I didn't like them for whatever reason. And so I want you to become more likable, okay? So I want you to take some really good notes right now, all right? Number one is this. The first way for you to become more likable is to be yourself, right? Be you. Oftentimes I meet people and they don't want to be themselves. They want to be like somebody else, right? Like, they wear other people's clothes, like their brand, right? They wear like their same makeup. They buy their makeup line because all of a sudden it's like you think you're going to be like them, right? So they start talking like these people. They start walking like these people, right? I would tell you I would say be you, okay? And I'm by the way, you guys, I'm taking like an hour and a half, 2 hour talk, like a 90-minute talk, and putting it into like a 10-minute, 15-minute talk with you guys right now, okay? But you listen, I said this a couple weeks ago on a webinar, and I said that, you are all wired for success, but programmed to fail. But when I say we're wired for success, every single one of you have your own fingerprints. You all have different eyes. You all have your own DNA. You are you. And so I want you to be yourself. Another great quote that I want to share with you is, why are people, or why are you trying to fit in when God created you, right, to stand out? Let me say that one more time. Why are you trying to fit in when God created you to stand out, okay? Be you, all right? And so don't try to be like somebody else, okay? Like I met an artist, and I said, as an artist, like who do you want to be? And they said, I want to be like Ariana Grande. And I'm like, worst thing you ever said. And she's like, why? And I go, Ariana Grande is Ariana Grande, and she's great. She's very talented and gifted. But you need to be you, right? I heard somebody say to me, I'm going to be like the next Lady Gaga. And I'm like, why? Do you want to be the next Lady Gaga? Lady Gaga is Lady Gaga. You need to be you, okay? So I want you to be you. We don't need another Lady Gaga. We have Lady Gaga, okay? So that's number one, is be yourself. Number two is this, smile, right? I think that most people don't smile enough, okay? And you'd be amazed what would happen if you began to smile and you approached people with a smile more often, right? And you can tell, like as soon as you meet somebody, and some people, they got this huge grin on their face, and you just love them already, right? Like you want to be around them. You're like, oh, this person seems super friendly, right? Just because they smile. So that's number two. Number three is this, give sincere compliments, right? Give sincere compliments. I teach a course, a class called EPR. And EPR basically stands for encourage, praise and recognize. Encourage, praise, and recognize. Please write that down. EPR. Encourage, praise, and recognize. Now, we'll teach you how to EPR. There's a whole art to that as well, right? But I want you to give sincere compliments to people every day. We don't do it enough. And you'd be surprised how you become more likable when you give genuine and sincere compliments to people, okay? Number 4 is this. Look people in the eyes. Look at them in the eyes. How many of you guys have talked to someone and they don't look at you? Have you ever had that? Like, you know, they're talking to you, right? They're sitting at a restaurant. They're sitting across the table and they're talking to you and they're kind of going like this. Yeah, okay, yeah, uh-huh. And they're just all over the place and they're looking up at the ceiling. In fact, you can see that they're checking out some other things that are happening behind you, which causes you to even what? Turn your own head, okay? So, so those are the things I'm talking about, is that when you have somebody sitting in front of you and they're talking to you, make sure that you look at them, okay? And you know what's interesting? When I was a kid growing up, my mother always said, when you talk to people, look at them in the eyes, okay? And so you communicate with people just through the eyes, okay? So that's very, very important. If you want to be more likable, look at them. Number 5, how many of you guys have this has happened? Stop looking at your phone every 5 seconds. Has that ever happened to some of you guys where you're talking to someone and literally while you're talking to them, they're going like this? Yeah, yeah. Or they do this, or they go, yeah, yeah, and they listen, and then 5 seconds later, they're looking at their phone. And then a couple seconds later, you put it down, and then you're talking to them, and then they grab their phone again, right? Tell me if that's not annoying, right? Like when I have that happen to me, I literally just stop right there, stop in my tracks, and I'm like, hey, I said, I'm busy, and my phone's blowing up too, right? But I'm not looking at my phone every few seconds, and you're sitting there looking at your phone a few seconds. Should we reschedule for another day or time? It's rude that you do such a thing, right? In fact, you shouldn't even have it on the table. Like, just take it, put it in your purse, put it in your pocket, put it away, and give that person your what? Your undivided attention, right? Look at them, right? And don't look at anybody else. I mean, and especially if you're dating, like if you're going out on your first date, you know, I hear people go, oh, I guess what, John? I'm going to go on a date this Friday, Saturday night, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, oh, man, I hope that's the right person. I hope it works out. And then a couple days later, they call me back. I'm like, how did it go? How was that date? And they're like, oh, my God. And they'll say, what? And they go, they kept on looking everywhere. They're looking at their cell phone every 5 seconds. And I'm like, oh, my God, how annoying, right? All of a sudden, they don't like you. They don't want to go on a second date with you, right? Like, I mean, I'm telling you, when I first started to go on a date with Arlene, and I'll still remember the first day I said, hey, I know we've been hanging out and kind of going here and there, and I don't know how you feel, and I felt like we're having fun, but I said to her, I said, hey, would you like to go on a date, you know, like an official date? And she said, yeah, and I was like, great, and then we, you know, scheduled, I set up a dinner reservation, and you know, I had some activities set for after dinner. And let me just tell you something. When I sat across the table, right, I intentionally, right, wanted to sit facing the wall and her. That was it. I wanted to have no distractions. I wanted to be in a booth, right, not a table, a booth. So if I was in a booth, I was going to be like, have a wall on my side. And I was like this, like blinders, like on a horse. I only wanted to see her. I mean, she was everything to me, right? And she still is. So I want you to know that you don't look at your phone every 5 seconds, right, when you have somebody in front of you. Number 6, sincerely get to know people and your potential clients by asking lots of questions, right? So I'm very good at asking questions. In fact, as I ask questions, I'm probing to know how to ask my next question, right? So one of the most successful ingredients of people who are successful is that they know how to ask the right questions, okay? So that in itself is an art, knowing how to ask the right questions. And in fact, and we should probably do a session on what? Asking the right questions, okay? So learn how to ask right questions. In fact, we'll let you know. I'm gonna put a little PowerPoint together. Know what questions do you ask, okay? Number 7, Don't look like you're in a hurry, okay? A lot of people, like, I want to talk to somebody, and they're like, hey, yeah, I gotta go, man. What's up? And I'm like, what? Like, man, I just like tracked you down to get to know you, to ask you a few questions, and you're like in a hurry, and you're not even giving me the time of day. And that kind of it kind of offends me. I don't even want to talk to that person anymore, right? So most of the time, I get approached by people, I really want to give them the time, right? Because they took the time to come and find me and approach me. So I want to take the time to listen, right? I want to listen, right? I want to shut my mouth, right? My kids, right? Every time my kids are, we have our weekly family meetings, right? And when we do that, we do this little thing right there, like that. You guys know what that is, right? Hello, right? I just go to my kids and I go like this, right? And you're kind of like, well, what's that? What that means is you guys shut your mouth, right? You shut your mouth and you listen, 2 ears, right? You go like this. So when I go like this, that means everybody has to shut their mouth and listen, okay? And guess what? I give my kids their undivided attention, right? I will then do this to myself, where I will listen to my children and shut my mouth and see what they have to share with me, okay? And sometimes in parenting, we want to talk at our kids, right? But we don't want to listen to our kids. And you got to listen to your kids and not always expect your kids to just only listen to you. It's got to be what? Both ways. There's got to be some reciprocity in this, right? And I don't want to just go, kids, you guys, I have appointments, I have meetings, let's go, come on, what is it you want to say? I don't want to rush my children. I want to sit there and go, wait, okay, kids, you got my attention, okay? So there it is, number 7. Number 8, find areas of agreement. Don't be argumentative or combative when having a conversation. I mean, I sit there and, you know, I hear people, and one person will say, well, you know, I think, you know, these protests and looting is so stupid, and rioting is so stupid, right? And they'll say that. And then there will be another person standing and say, hey, right? You know, that you can't say things like that. And all of a sudden now you become what? Argumentative, right? You become very combative. Now guess what? You're not going to be what? Likeable anymore. Does that make sense, right? Like, because now you've created tension, right? And so you have to learn not to be combative and be argumentative, right? Even if you know that someone just said something that's incorrect, it's a false statement of fact, don't correct them, right? You don't go, well, that's not true, right? Have you guys ever heard people say that to you? Like, you say something like, well, that's not true, right? And so I get that all the time, where people come to me and they'll say things like, you know, term insurance is the best. Well, I 100% disagree, right? Now, am I going to say that out loud and now get argumentative and combative? Now I become annoying. I've created tension. And now guess what? That person that just said term insurance is the best and I disagree, we're not going to like each other very much now, right? So there you have it. So what I want to do is find a way that we can find some areas of agreement, but I also got to know why they're saying what they're saying. So instead of when someone says, John, term insurance is the best, right? And it's the only thing people should own. Okay. Well, that's a false statement. You can't say that. You're absolutely wrong. Do you know I've been doing this for 30 years and I can't believe you're saying that term insurance is the best. Now, that's not the way to approach it. So I'm going to ask them, right, going back to what I said to you guys earlier, right, is number 6, asking the right questions. Ask the right questions. So over here, I'm now going to say, oh, so they go, term insurance is the best. Oh, that's interesting. Really? What makes you say that? I'm curious. I'd love to learn what is your point of view and why you're saying that term insurance is the best. And so I now ask the right questions, right? Now they're going to explain themselves, right? And they're going to say, because it's the least expensive. Yeah, that's true, right? So guess what? I agree. Now see how I found that area of agreement? Okay. Also, people can afford it. Yeah, that's agreed. Yeah, I agree with that. Are you with me on that? And so now I'm starting to find areas of agreement, and I know why they're saying that term insurance is the best, right? Versus maybe whole life or universal life, because those actually, they're not as expensive, but they've got a savings component of it, right, et cetera. But we're not talking about universal life and whole life right now. But I agree with them. It is cheap, it is inexpensive, people can afford it, et cetera, et cetera. So now I go, yeah, you make some valid points there, right? So suddenly, like, this person goes, oh, look, John agrees with me, right? So now I'm more likable in that situation, and I don't have to be argumentative, right? And telling them that, oh, how can you possibly say that, right? So that's what I'm talking about, right? Find areas of agreement. Number 9, find reasons to be optimistic about life. Folks, let me just tell you, more than now than ever, okay, more now than ever, is we need to find reasons, okay, to be optimistic about life, right? Like, I mean, this morning I woke up, I kid you not, and I leaned over at Arlene and I kind of tapped her shoulder because she was still sleeping, right? So I woke up and she would not respond to me, right? So I let her sleep, right? She was out, right? When I woke up, she was still out. And so, you know, I waited a few minutes, went into my retreat, and I went in there and I was just checking my messages, that all these text messages that came in this morning. And then suddenly, you know, I hear her wake up and I walk over to her and I said, good morning. I said, how did you sleep? And she says, great. And I said, that's great. I said, hey, I said, let's make it another great day. And she said, yeah. And I said, well, God just gave us another chance. And she said, I know. She says, we got to make it our best day ever. So, you know, we had this conversation and we chuckled about that. Every single one of you guys today should be so optimistic about your life that God literally gave you another chance this morning when you woke up. I mean, do you even realize? Like, wow, you got another shot at doing something magnificent today. So I would find reasons to be optimistic in life and how you're going to make a difference in people's lives every day. Okay. Number 10, show that you care, right? Most people just don't, everybody feels like they care about themselves. It seems like everything on TV today, it's about me, 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 me. And it's instead of like everyone else, right? So show that you care. All right. Number 11 is listen more than you talk. Remember this right here? Remember I talked about that? Okay, listen more than you talk. All right, number 12. Well, this isn't going to happen very much nowadays, right? But typically, you know, I would tell you that you want to do the presidential handshake, right? So you'll see, you know what I mean by presidential is instead of going up and just fist bumping somebody or shaking hands the old way like this, you guys know what I'm talking about, where you shake hands like this, you actually shake their hand and then you take your other hand and put it on their wrist. Are you with me on that? You shake hands with 2 hands, or you put it on both their hands like this, okay? And you shake with 2 hands. And then at the same time, you even like, you know, kind of bow your head a little bit to show some humbleness there, right? And so this is like the diplomatic handshake. You'll see a lot of presidential people, ambassadors, right? Diplomats, when they first meet to conduct business internationally, right? You'll see them do that. A lot of Asians, right, in our culture, not only will they shake hands, but they'll actually stand at attention and they'll actually bow to each other, okay? To show respect, to show humbleness, right? And so that's what I mean. And it's very interesting that you do that. A lot of martial artists, right? Martial artists, they know how to bow, they shake hands, and they nod their head down to show respect, to be humble. Okay, so very important that you do that. Now, some of you say, I'm a germaphobe, I don't want to shake people's hands. I get it. Anna just sneezed, everyone. Anna, sorry, gosh, she just sneezed all over, and she wasn't wearing a mask. Oh, all right, here we go. All right, everybody, COVID-19 in the house. No, I'm just kidding. So that's number 13. Bless you, Anna. Yeah, you're welcome. Bless you. All right, number 13, be polite. What? Be polite? Yeah, I mean, can you imagine how rude people are these days? I mean, think about, like, you know, when you're driving, right? Have you ever tried to signal, like, to make a lane change to the left or right? And as you're making a lane change, the guy in the other lane, like, speeds up, right, to cut you off so you can't come into their lane. Oh my God, like that's like one of my biggest pet peeves, right? Why would you do that? Why, like to let one car in because I need to get off at the next exit. I'm trying to move over, right? And whether I move over in front of you, I got to move over to the, I got to cut somebody off, right? To get into the next lane so I can get over to the exit, right? But it's like, I wish more and more people would have that Southern hospitality, you know, to just be polite, to be courteous, and just be kind to people on the road, right? I mean, really, like just the fact that you let somebody cut you off as though they can get over to the next lane, you now are gonna speed up and cut them off and potentially get a little minor fender bender. Just be nice. It even makes you feel better, right? I love when I see people trying to get in front of me, I stop, right? I go like this. I'm in the window. I go like this, okay? And all of a sudden, I feel like I just helped somebody that day. I feel better doing that than me speeding up, and then the other guy now has to speed up beside me, stares me down, okay, looks at me, gives me the finger, tells me to pull over, right? Like, how is that so, you know, warm feeling, you know what I mean? Like, are you really being a good person? Right? I mean, do you think that Jesus would do that if he was here driving a car? He would speed up and cut you off, right? I mean, I just tell people, man, be nice. Just be nice to people, for crying out loud. I don't understand why or how it's so difficult to just be nice to people, right? And be respectful. Okay, so so there you go. That's 13. Okay, now our final one here is this. Constantly remind yourself of the first 13 items in this list, right? So if you do these things every day and remind yourself to be, you know, all these different things I just shared with, I'm telling you what, you're going to be a lot more likable than not likable, okay? And I think if you're more likable, more and more people are going to want to do business with you. All right, so having said all that, I hope I provided some value. I know I went a little bit over time, but again, I just want you guys to know that if you're invited here for the very first time, please, right, get with the person who invited you and get more details about how money works. Learn how to make more money, and finally, is to maybe get a meeting scheduled for you and me to visit, okay? So those are some things there. Please go out there and read some great books, right? I recommend these books here if you want to know more about money and finance. One is a book by Patrick Kelly called The Retirement Miracle. The other one is by Ben Baldwin called The New Life Insurance Investment Advisor Book. And finally, Tony Robbins has a book, a revised book called Money Master the Game, okay? Now, if you want to work on what's going on up here in your 7 inches, okay, make sure that you guys pick up these books right here. And then also, just so you guys know, on last Tuesday, I think it was, we had a special guest speaker. His name is Randy Spelling, okay? And Randy did a great job. I appreciated all the messages you guys sent me. And Randy is actually doing a one-day coaching and mentoring program for $197. He's also bringing in some other speakers, including me, and we're doing a one-day from 10 to 5. If you want to get into this, please, if you guys are like, wait, who's Randy Spelling? Maybe you know his dad or his sister. His sister is Tori Spelling, and his dad is Aaron Spelling. And Aaron Spelling is the one who made the movie called, not a movie, TV show, 90210, right? Beverly Hills 90210. The Love Boat, remember that show? T.J. Hooker, Charlie's Angels, right? And the list goes on. His dad was such an amazing man in the entertainment industry, and he is now doing coaching and mentoring, he being Randy, the son of Aaron Spelling. And so if you're interested in doing this, please email Anna at tgrmastermind.com. And we've got just a few more openings that we want to fill in. And so we maybe have a spot for 10 more people. So if you're interested in that, please email Anna today, and then we'll have a sold out event with Randy Spelling and a lot of his friends. And then we've got, don't forget, next Tuesday with Sonia Stribling, Dr. Sonia Stribling at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, we're very, very excited that you tuned in here with us today. Look forward to meeting with you guys soon. Have yourself a Shintastic weekend. God bless every single one of you guys. Make sure you're registered for this event, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Take care.